Okay, so when I say rep, you say recess. Rep, recess. Rep, recess. Rep, recess. How's it going, folks? This is Pat from Asphalt Green's Recess Enhancement Program, or REP, here with another instructional video for you, this time for our game Detective, which, if you play it, I'm sure you're going to have a fantastic rep recess. All right? Before we can hop into the game, though, as always, it's super important to start with a safety check, okay? So before and after we play any game, we always want to make sure that we and our students are washing our hands for at least 20 seconds, okay? And we want to make sure that these hands aren't going anywhere near our face at any point. If we ever have to cough or sneeze too, we always want to make sure that we're just dabbing right into the elbow. And we always want to maintain proper social distance, so we always want to stay at least 6 feet apart from one another, okay? So if you've done your safety check and you're ready to go, give me 2 claps. Let's get started. So it seems like everyone's ready to go, which means that we can hop into our overview of the game Detective. And wait, what's the name of the game? I feel like there was a clue like 5 seconds ago. Of course, it's Detective, right? Right. Anyway, folks, Detective is a great game to play with students in kindergarten up through 5th grade, or students within that age range or ability level. It's also a game that can really be played anywhere. So long as you can form a circle or something like a circle, and so long as those students can stand 6 feet apart in whatever shape that might be, you're gonna be good to go, okay? What's great about this game, with that in mind, is that it's super safe. Students will be able to maintain their social distance throughout the game, and there's no equipment needed for it other than cones or tape that you might lay down to mark out your play area, which means that students won't be sharing or touching the same things, okay? And what's equally as important as safety, it's super fun, just like all of our rep games are. So we've got safety, we've got fun covered, which means that we're in for another great game. But anyway, let's get into the details of it. And as we always like to do when talking about the details of any of our games, we want to rep it out. So let's start with our ready and talk about how we can get ready for Detective, okay? So the first step to getting ready for Detective is the first step to getting ready for any of our games, right? And that is mapping out our play area. Again, Detective can really be played anywhere so long as students can form a circle or some form of a shape, and so long as they can be 6 feet apart from one another in that shape. Standing, sitting, however it might be, right? So once you've found that play area, you've designated your boundaries for it, what you can then do is do a quick safety sweep, and you can remove any items that you feel might pose a safety risk to you or your students within that play area, right? And you can have a think about how to work around items that can't be moved, okay? Then, once you've done that, what you can then do is lay down any equipment that you might need. So if you say you wanted to mark the boundaries with tape or cones, you can feel free to do that. But you won't need any other equipment. Again, students won't need to share anything during this game. They'll just need themselves, okay? Then, once you feel confident in your play space, you feel it's totally safe, and you feel like you're good to go, you can have the students gather up and form a circle, okay? And you can use the attention grabber that I used at the beginning of this video to help you do that. So you can yell out, if you can hear my voice, when I say rep, you say recess. Rep, recess, rep, recess, rep, recess. And once you have their attention, you can ask them all to form a circle or whatever shape that they can form, so long as they're standing 6 feet apart from one another. Once you've done that, that means that you're ready to hop into the next portion of the rep model, E, explain. So whenever explaining, you always want to make sure that you're using a loud and clear voice so that all students can hear and understand you. And you also want to be asking students specific questions about the instructions that you're giving. That way you can clarify things for them and you can check to make sure that they're understanding your rules, okay? Some suggestions for questions that we have for you are, well, whose movements do you copy? And how many guesses does the detective get? All of that will make more sense while I go through the instructions. So how about I do that and you follow along in your PDF copy of it or on our website, all right? So the first rule of Detective is something that you actually have already done, and that is to gather everyone up and have them stand 6 feet apart from one another in a circle, okay? After that, you can explain to students that you're going to pick 2 people. And those 2 people, one of them will be a leader and one of them will be the detective, okay? So you can explain to all of the students that the detective will be sent out of the group and they will close their eyes and their ears, okay? You can then explain that you're going to pick a leader within the group, and that leader will be responsible for leading the whole group in movements, okay? So say the leader decided to start doing this as a movement, everyone else in the group will have to start doing this as well. And say the leader then changes up their movement, so they're doing this, and then they change to this. Everyone in the group will have to follow that movement. So they'll start here, and then they'll see the leader changes, and they'll go to this. So you can then explain that while all of those movements are going on and the leader is leading everyone, the detective will come back into the center of the group, and the detective will have 3 guesses as to who the leader is in the group, okay? And if the leader is found out within those 3 guesses, phenomenal. This detective and leader can Wi-Fi or air high five, and the game can continue. But say that the detective is unsuccessful, again, totally cool, Wi-Fi, air high five, and the game can continue on, all right? And that is detective. So that is an explanation of the rules for detective. So how about we talk a little bit about how we can play the game so that students are abiding by those rules, and how we can play the game so as to keep students interested in it, okay? So before we do that though, I think we need to gather up, all right? So when I say rep, you say recess. Rep, recess, rep, recess, rep, recess. Can everyone gather up and stand 6 feet apart from one another? Brilliant stuff, thank you. So, first suggestion that we have for you is to remind students to be following the leader's motions, okay? No one should be doing their own movements. Everyone should be following the leader. But with that in mind, you also want to remind students not to be staring at the leader for too long. That'll make it way too easy for the detective, right? So you want to make sure that everyone kind of is doing sneaky glances over to keep the motions going, all right? With the detective in mind as well, you want to remind the leader to consistently be changing up the motions, okay? Because if the leader is just doing this the whole time, that's going to be really, really hard for the detective because they're not going to be able to figure out who the leader is. So for the sake of the detective, for the sake of some more fun and activity, ask the leader to be consistently changing up the motions throughout, okay? And with that in mind too, the leader can move around so they can have the circle move around in a circle, right? But with that in mind, you want to make sure that everyone is consistently doing their motions 6 feet apart from one another, okay? So just so long as students, remember social distance, you're okay, all right? And then what you can also do, depending on the size of the group, if you want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to be leader and detective in a very, very large group, you can cut down the number of guesses that the detective has, right? Or you can put a time limit on those guesses, okay? So maybe the detective has two guesses and they have to make a guess within 10 seconds, okay? That way you can quickly go through the entire group so that everyone has a chance to be a leader and everyone has a chance to be the detective, okay? Or if you have a small group and you just want the game to keep going, you can give the detective like 5 guesses, whatever works, all right? And again, it's always great to add in a little bit of extra activity. So say the detective figures out who the leader is, right, within the guesses. Well, then the leader and the whole group maybe have to do 5 jumping jacks, right? But say the detective was unsuccessful in their guessing, well, that's all right. They do 5 jumping jacks, they rejoin the game, and then a new detective and a new leader are chosen, okay? So that brings us to the end of our tip list, which means that we're at the end of our rep model and therefore the end of this video, okay? Before we go though, I think we all need to gather up one more time. So when I say rep, you say recess, rep, recess, rep, recess, rep, recess. And I just want to thank you folks for watching yet another instructional video. Hope you find it useful and I hope you have a lot of fun playing detective, okay? Stay tuned for more videos from us here at Asphalt Green and we'll catch you the next time.